Slavery ended in 1865. What replaced it was designed to do the same thing without the chains being visible. 1877. For 12 years after the Civil War, Black Americans rebuilt. They voted, they held political office, they built schools, businesses, churches. 14 black men served in the US Congress during Reconstruction. Then the federal government made a deal. The Compromise of 1877 ended Reconstruction. Federal troops left the South, and the moment they did, the South moved to undo everything. They called the new system Jim Crow. The name came from a minstrel show character, a dancing, grinning caricature of a black man that white audiences laughed at. They named an entire legal system after a joke about black people's humanity. It was not a joke. States passed laws making it illegal for black and white people to share schools, restaurants, train cars, waiting rooms, hospitals, swimming pools, water fountains, bathrooms, cemeteries, and park benches. The Supreme Court made it official in 1896. Plessy v. Ferguson. The court ruled that segregation was legal as long as the facilities were separate but equal. They were never equal. Black schools received 1/10 the funding of white schools. Black hospitals had no equipment. Black train cars were the oldest, dirtiest cars on the line. Separate water fountains were not a minor inconvenience. They were a daily declaration that black people were subhuman. Voting was made functionally impossible. Poll taxes required payment to vote, in a region where black workers were paid almost nothing. Literacy tests were administered selectively, with impossible questions asked only of black applicants. Grandfather clauses said you could only vote if your grandfather had voted and their grandfathers had been enslaved. Black voter registration in Mississippi fell from 67% in 1867 to less than 6% by 1900. If a black man tried to vote anyway, there were other methods of persuasion. Between 1877 and 1950, more than 4,000 black people were lynched in the United States. Hanged, burned alive, shot, dismembered, in public, in front of crowds, sometimes advertised in local newspapers in advance. Postcards were made, people sent them to relatives. No one was prosecuted. The Senate voted down an anti-lynching bill 3 times. Sundown towns passed laws, some official, some unwritten, requiring black people to be out of city limits before dark or face arrest, violence, or death. By 1970, there were an estimated 10,000 sundown towns across the United States. Not only in the South. Convict leasing rebuilt slavery under a different name. Black men were arrested for vagrancy, the crime of not having a job, in a region that refused to hire them. Then they were leased to coal mines, plantations, and lumber camps as prison labor. They were worked to death. Literally, the death rate in some Alabama mines reached 40% per year. It was slavery. The paperwork was different. Black Wall Street was the name outsiders gave to the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. By 1921, it had its own hospitals, hotels, law firms, and banks. Black doctors, lawyers, and business owners had built one of the wealthiest black communities in American history. June 1, 1921, white mobs, some deputized by the city, invaded Greenwood. They set fire to 35 blocks. They shot people fleeing their burning homes. Some accounts described planes flying overhead, dropping incendiary devices. 1,200 homes destroyed, 300 people dead, 10,000 black residents left homeless overnight. No one was charged. The city used the cleared land to build a highway. 6 million black people left the South between 1910 and 1970. The Great Migration. They went to Chicago, Detroit, New York, Los Angeles, seeking work, schools, and the basic right to exist without fear of being murdered. The North was not what they were promised. Redlining. A government-sanctioned policy that marked black neighborhoods in red on official maps meant banks refused to give mortgages in those areas. Black families couldn't buy homes, couldn't build equity, couldn't accumulate generational wealth. A white family who bought a house in 1950 saw it triple in value by 1980. Their black neighbor, denied a mortgage for the house next door, did not. The wealth gap between black and white America today is a direct mathematical result of those policies. Jim Crow began falling legally in 1954. Brown v. Board of Education. The Supreme Court reversed Plessy v. Ferguson. School segregation was declared unconstitutional. The South responded by closing public schools entirely rather than integrating them. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus in 1955. She was not tired from a long day's work. She was tired of giving in. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted 381 days. Black residents walked miles to work every day for over a year rather than fund the segregated system. The buses desegregated. Sit-ins, freedom riders beaten on buses, children knocked down by fire hoses in Birmingham, 4 girls killed in a church bombing. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 made racial discrimination in public places illegal. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 restored what the 15th Amendment had guaranteed a century earlier. Jim Crow, as a legal system, was over. What it had done to black wealth, black education, black health, black land ownership, black political power, and black generational stability over 90 years was not undone by 2 pieces of legislation. Reconstruction lasted 12 years, Jim Crow lasted 90. Its consequences have lasted longer than both. This is just one piece of our history. Our real stories go way deeper. Discover thousands more on melanin.site.